I think that's the beauty of Eva being in Ty's life, of her seeing what it's like to confront barriers, what it's like to forgive and find peace.
Well, congratulations on joining Harlem. It's such an incredible series. And I would just like to ask each of you if you would talk a little bit about what it's like coming into this series that is now in its third and final season, where the characters are pretty set, and joining Tracy Oliver's incredible show. And I'll go to you first, Logan.
Honestly, I'm not saying that the work is easy, but joining it was the easiest thing. Especially because it's a world that has been built, it's like the real world and you just step into it and you don't have to think about the moving parts and pieces. Sometimes when it's a new show, you're all kind of creating the world as a character together. So I just felt like a paper doll in a house jumping in and everyone was so welcoming. Like I just immediately felt at home.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And how about for you, Gail?
I always tell friends and family, pay attention to how your life changes when people enter and exit.
Mm,
So it's so funny that that you asked this question because it was my first time truly reflecting on how Eva's life and Ty's life are affected with their entrance and exit
mm,
or exit-ish of one another. And it was leaving sometimes can be not hard but necessary.
mm.
And entering, for some reason, it always feels so kismet. Um, but me, Gail Bean, walking into the show of Harlem, it was kismet. It was just right. Like
Yeah.
there again, I echo the sentiments of Logan. They're a phenomenal group of women and men. Because Tyler,
Oh, he's incredible.
yeah, they're all just so great. Like
Yeah.
Tracy, Britt, and Stacy, Tasha, Shay, everybody has set a phenomenal foundation. So
Yeah.
it was just like I hit the lottery being a
Mm.
part of this cast, being a part of Amazon is so amazing, being part of that umbrella, Amazon Prime Video. So I truly felt like I hit the actor lottery.
Incredible. Well, you're wonderful in it. It's such a great role. Logan, I'm going to go back to you. You kind of have this very difficult role of playing one of the main characters' ex's new love interest, which, when there are fans for a ship, that is a tough place to be. But Portia is really, I think, open in she's willing to try this relationship out that is difficult. It's already in a difficult situation, but she seems really open and loving, even if she doesn't, love the idea of Camille being around all the time. Would you talk a little bit about playing this character?
Yeah, that's you worded it perfectly, truly.
Thank
I
you.
it's funny. I've talked about this in therapy before that, sometimes I'll be sharing something with my therapist and she's like, I don't know if she's like, I think one day you might wake up and be like, what was I doing? But I said, if I care about someone and I love them, then I show up for them, no matter what it is. And like, I mean, imagine if someone is sick, right? And so imagine if the circumstance is that Ian has a sickness, not just an ex that's in his life. It's like if I love someone and I care about them, I show up for them and I stay around. And I think that that's where I am in my life. And I think that's how Portia really views the world.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. And Gail, you have this relationship with Ty, who uh, really is affected by past trauma and walks through the world so confident, but is very much affected by her relationship with her parents. And here, your character comes in and is very much, again, open and loving, has been burned a little bit. But there's also this forgiveness. And I wonder if you would talk about the idea of forgiveness when you're dealing with someone, especially a queer person who's been, traumatized.
Thank you. I love that you brought up her relationship, Ty's relationship with her parents or lack thereof. And paralleling it to Eva, who we see this phenomenal dynamic with her mom and grew up in a house of love. And I think forgiveness, the first lessons of forgiveness does start at home. And how we forgive, what it looks like, the foundation. And I think that's the beauty of Eva being in Ty's life, of her seeing what it's like to confront barriers, what it's like to forgive and find peace that surpasses understanding. I think there's sometimes a lot that we can learn from one another. Like, yes, Ty is not quite at a place, relationship, love interest wise, that Eva may be at, but there are a lot of things that Eva learns from Ty when it comes to strength and work, constructive criticism. Like, I think they teach each other stuff, and I find it so beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you. And Logan, would you just talk a little bit about what it means to you to be a part of this storytelling? We are, I don't want to get political really, but we're coming into another really possibly tough 4 years for BIPOC people, for queer people. And this storytelling is at the intersections of so much of it. And it's beautiful and it's funny. Would you talk a little bit about just generally what that means to you to be a part of it?
Authentic storytelling in any capacity is what unifies all of us, especially any of us who are in a marginalized community or in a community that's been oppressed in any way, and to be able to have such beautiful storytelling with humor. I wish even more people could see this show. I think that I think the show is so empowering and and a joy and a true light in times, like you said, in times like this, to be able to turn on Harlem on Prime and just laugh and cry and connect with these characters is, yeah, it's beyond.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And Gail, would you just talk a little bit about Harlem as a character? This show is a love letter to this culturally rich center.
Yeah, it is. Harlem is the heartbeat of the show, from the gathering spots, the staples in the community, to the girls' essence, to, there's times where we go to college or after college life where we are in a city and we really truly find ourselves. We find our friends group. We find, like, who we are and principles and what was in us that we didn't know. And I think Harlem has given that to so many of the characters on the show. And it's created that space for real Harlemites to fall back in love with the city, new Harlemites. Like, it's just so beautifully woven into every storyline. It's like stitched and threaded into the heart of the show. And I am grateful that Tracy Oliver and Britt Matt honored that.
Yeah.
Because, the show is truly a love letter to Harlem.